Welcome to Political Beatdown. We are just a few hours away from the State of the Union being delivered by President Biden. President Biden speaking about unifying the nation, talking about bringing people together and finding solutions. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump trying to divide us and trying to find money. Any remaining thesis with Trump was that I'm a great businessman, even though we know that's totally crap, and that he's got all this money still. He's got all of this cash around, and that's what Alina Habba previously said. But it doesn't even seem they have the money, Michael Cohen. Set aside the $464 million prejudgment, post-judgment interest, when he had that all together in the New York Attorney General civil fraud case. Doesn't seem like Trump's got the $83.3 million to post a bond in E. Jean Carroll, and they've been frantically filing motion after motion and letter briefs with Judge Lewis Kaplan, who they attacked. They did another one. Please, Judge, give us a few more days. Give us a few more days. Judge, you haven't ruled yet whether they try to shift the burden to the judge like it's his fault that he hasn't stayed the enforcement of the judgment. So they need more time. Give us more time. But at the end of the day, Michael Cohen, didn't Alina Habba say they got the funds and this would be super easy? They clearly don't.
So the answer is yes. I was watching MSNBC with Nicole Wallace just not more than 15, 20 minutes ago. And she had Lisa Rubin on. And they, of course, they brought me up. And they turned around and they said, Nicole Wallace turned around and she said, Michael Cohen has been saying, I'm sorry, it wasn't Nicole Wallace. It was Katie Tur. And she turns around and she says, Michael Cohen's been saying this all along, which is, Donald does not have the money, and he's not able to post this because of the debt that's on the properties and so on. So it got me to thinking, and I really want to hear your take on this, Ben. Yep. Donald Von fucking shits in pants and his ongoing continuous, D-rated lawyers are coming and they're making all of these statements they posted in this motion in limine and all that Michael Cohen should be charged with perjury. And that happened, of course, the same day that Alan Weisselberg pled guilty to perjury and so on. So I'm thinking to myself, Von Schitzenpants was on the stand and he actually told the judge that he has $400 million in cash. He said it on the stand under oath, along with, of course, the fact that he lied when he said that he was talking about me, when he was talking and making the nasty comments to the press about the judge's law clerk. You may remember that. Why is he not being brought up on perjury?
It's a great question, and you go back even before that to the deposition that Donald Trump took, and Donald Trump said that he would rely on Alan Weisselberg, and he said that he doesn't know anything about generally accepting accounting principles, but that Weisselberg was the one responsible for that. Weisselberg admitting to perjury is so significant because Weisselberg was not just any witness in that case. He was the one who Trump and Eric and Don Jr. said he knew everything. It was Weisselberg who was the one in charge and in command. So when that's the witness too,
he was the executor of the Trump estate, right? The two trustees were Don and Eric, but the executor was Alan, which required every single check to be signed at least by Alan. And along with one of the two trustees. So, yeah, he knew everything. But it goes right back to the question I was asking. Why, Ben, do you think that he's not being charged? Why doesn't the DA or the AG, why doesn't the prosecutor in those cases turn around and bring him up on perjury? He fucking lied to the judge.
How about this, Cohen, when setting aside that? How about when Donald Trump says that Mar-a-Lago is valued under oath at 10 times, 20 times, 50 times, 100 times what they say it's worth? It's worth $1.8 billion. When it was Donald Trump who was the person who said it was worth under $27 million because it's a commercial property, not a residential property, and because it's a social club. So why isn't that perjury? Almost all of his statements are perjury that he made, in my opinion, and he shouldn't get away with it just because Justice Engoron goes, most of his responses were incoherent and non-responsive. He almost falls back on the fact that people treat him like a toddler and that he's not even putting together sentences. And so he kind of uses that to his advantage, and that shouldn't be the case.
No, it should not be. But it goes back to even when he's incoherent, like he was the other day at that rally, even when he says stupid shit like Mar-a-Lago's worth $1.5 billion and so on. And you're right. And then devalues it for the purpose of taxes. Let's just look at the stuff that's not incoherent. Not everything that comes out of his mouth is incoherent. The judge asked him directly, Mr. Trump, you went out from this courtroom and you spoke to the press and you made certain statements about the person sitting next to me that you called all sorts of names in violation of the gag order. Who are you talking about? And he says, Michael Cohen. Judge, I do not believe you. I don't find what you're saying to be credible. The person sitting next to me was my law clerk, and you are aware of the gag order. You are aware that you have been directed by this court not to make statements about my staff. Is that correct? And he says, yes, I am aware of it. But you made statements, and he says, I was talking about Michael Cohen. And everybody knows that that's a lie. Why are they not bringing him up on perjury charges for that? Or when he turned around and he said that he has $400 million of cash in the bank. All right? Prove it. Prove it. You made a statement under oath, which is directly related to the case at hand. Why is he not being brought up on perjury? He likes to throw out that perjury charge to anyone and everyone that he can. How great would that be?
In fact, in the New York Attorney General civil fraud case, when they filed before the appellate division, one of the things that Trump argued is that these are exigent circumstances right now because Donald Trump does not have the cash and he would have to sell assets in order to access the cash. So you almost have an admission there that's directly contradictory to what the testimony was in the depositions as well as during the case. And let me just show everybody here
before we go to that clip, I just want to say this too. And you and I spoke about this. Alina Habba, Chris Kise, and Cliff Robert, the lawyers that were there in that case, they have an obligation. If in fact they know that their client is lying on the stand, they have an obligation under the professional rules of ethics. They have an obligation to inform the court of that lie. And of course, none of them did. In fact, not only did none of them advise the court, but they did other things like Alina Habba, running right in front of the camera to tell them that Donald is worth $10 billion plus, and he has more than enough money to cover it. I don't know. The fact that they all managed to skate through, I think it's problematic for me.
Yeah, and well, we'll see what happens with Habba and Cliff Robert. Recall that Justice Engoron back on the first week of February, after that New York Times article came out about Weisselberg potentially entering into those plea negotiations for felony perjury, asking the lawyers, asking Habba, asking Cliff Robert what they knew about it. And ultimately, Habba and Cliff Robert responded by attacking Justice Arthur Engoron. Engoron then sent them a letter back reminding them of their obligations under New York Rule of Professional Responsibility 3.3 sub A sub 3. And we haven't heard what's happened since then. But you're right. There are real issues there that need to be addressed. Here's the latest Alina Habba letter that she sent on March 6, 2020. For this one, she sent, this is in the E. Jean Carroll case, because, I thought, and I forgot that February was a shorter month. So I thought that the last day was Friday. Because February is a shorter month, it's actually Saturday. Alina Habba claims that the date when the judgment can be enforced there is Monday, which would be the next business day. I'm not sure if she's accurate there, but she's asking Judge Kaplan, please grant an administrative stay while you have not yet ruled on our request to stay the judgment. And she almost kind of shifts the burden to the judge as though it's the judge's fault for not yet ruling on the request for the stay of the enforcement of the judgment, when that's not the rule. That's the exception in rare circumstances. And you have to make a showing of some sort of financial exigent circumstance that you'll have the ability to pay. But notice, Cohen, how the tune and the tone of Alina Habba has shifted. She went from 2 weeks ago, Trump's got all the money, this'll be so easy to post. And here's the most recent appearance that she made yesterday while she was on Fox. And she was asked directly about the money, the hundreds of millions of dollars. And here was her response to that. Let's play this first clip.
Alina, before I let you go, any update on the hundreds of millions of dollars that the former president is due to pay in the New York case? There was a request to make it a smaller amount. Where does that stand now?
We're waiting on an appeal. Obviously, the judge was receptive to some of our arguments. We appeared before the appellate division just last week. He obviously amended the order in terms of allowing the Trump children and Trump family to continue to operate their business and to get loans, which was a big step in the right direction. As I've always said, Martha, this is going to be a long game. We knew we were not going to be successful. We lost before the trial started, and we're just going to have to push and push and push and hopefully have our facts and her case heard just like it was last week and chip away at this.
And what's your understanding of when the rest of the money is due, Alina?
It's due shortly, but we have pending appeals. We have pending motions that we have to have decisions on. So we're going to be patient and wait.
Okay.
We're going to be patient
I have no
and
idea
wait.
what she's even talking about. I mean, talk about blah, 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 blah. She's throwing out, you ask a very specific question. When does he have to post the money if he intends to file the appeal? And I believe that the answer may be Friday, maybe tomorrow or Monday.
Technically, because February was a shorter month, it's Saturday becomes the day 30, which the next business day is Monday. But
Okay.
Saturday or Monday.
Okay, so my point is, she should know that. She should know because she lost the case for him, right? So she should know when the appeal is due. What I don't understand, and again, they're asking her very straightforward questions, and she's talking about an appeal in order to create a long game out of this. We all know that's Donald's MO, delay, delay, delay. But Judge Engoron, the judge in the E. Jean Carroll case, they're not playing his game. You know, by the way, she's not even accurate about the Trump children running the business. She's not accurate about that. The Attorney General has already placed a receiver. And that was the whole issue about not being able to understand some $40 million write-off that they were taking and stuff, that where the receiver, who I think is Judge Barbara Jones, right, didn't understand it, and that became another issue. So again, when it comes to Alina Habba and the truth and understanding the law and how it applies to the various cases that she's working on or participating in as counsel to von Schitzenpants, she has really no idea what she's talking about. Come Monday, if the fee is not paid in order to file the appeal, if the bond is not posted, cash bond or through an entity, they will start seizing assets. They will make a motion in order to start taking the assets and selling them. And it won't go to Donald. It's not going to go to Eric or Don Jr. It's going to go to the receiver.
Yep. You know, when you have a retired federal judge, Barbara Jones, technically her title is independent monitor, which is slightly different than the receivership, although she's got more robust powers now with the 92-plus page order to make recommendations that in some ways are akin to a receivership. And the judge, Justice Engoron, did somewhat tone down the earlier order about the complete shutdown of these certificates, put that decision in the hands of Judge Barbara Jones. Nonetheless, it's clear that Alina Habba has no clue what she's talking about. And here's the prior appearance that Alina Habba made, where this was from 2 weeks ago, where she was the one saying, of course he's got the money. Of course.
We all know it. We all know it. Yeah.
Play the clip.
My
Just
goodness.
a little.
My goodness. So Judge Engoron says that he wants this $350 million within 30 days. Now, I know that you're planning on appealing this, but you've still got to put up the full amount pending that appeal. Does Donald Trump have that kind of money sitting around?
Yes. I mean, he does. Of course, he has money. You know, he's a billionaire. We know that. And
Of course we do. Of course we
Cohen,
do.
have you seen the new spokesperson? I want to show the new one. I give the Fox host credit here. There's the new press secretary for the campaign, and well, just watch. I'll just watch.
Okay, Karen, I've got a complaint. I know the campaign wants to win over Nikki Haley's voters, but I don't think you do that with name calling. For example, I take issue with Trump's new nickname for California governor, calling him New Scum. I don't think that's a good idea. I object to that kind of language. How about you?
Well, I think that what Governor Gavin Newsom has done to the once great state of California is terrible. You see real scum, real homeless people all over the streets.
Are you okay? Are you saying it's okay to bring that kind of language to a presidential campaign? New scum? That's okay?
I think the real problem here, Stu, is the policies of the deranged Democrats from Gavin Newsom to Joe Biden
I think your
that have destroyed
campaign has a
American
problem with
communities
language
across
like
this
that.
country.
You don't agree with me, but I think your campaign has a problem with language like that.
Well, I don't think voters respectfully agree with you either, Stu. If you look at the resounding wins that President Trump has received across the board.
You think you're going to win over Haley voters with language like that, do you? You win over moderates and women with language like that? Really?
I mean, she's going on air saying that we should call people scum, new scum. I mean, what's the stupidest point in the world?
Yeah. Look, again, what do you expect her to do? First of all,
not that.
She fits right into the pattern of Donald Trump spokespersons, right? I mean, let's be fair about it. First, you had, let's say, Kayleigh McEnany, right? And then all of a sudden you have Alina Habba, and then you have this young lady. They all fit the exact same pattern. He thinks that he thinks that everything is it's like a Miss Universe organization, right? He's trying to sell himself as this young, vivacious guy, right? Who is surrounded by these really young, attractive, intelligent women. That's what he's trying to portray. When in fact, no matter how smart they may be, I don't know anything about this young lady. For all I know, she could have graduated magna cum laude from Harvard. I have no idea about her, who she is, or anything to that extent, other than she fits the Donald Trump mold. He's trying to sell a vision, right? It's not legitimate. It's not a legitimate vision to us, but it happens to be a very legitimate vision for his MAGA supporters. And I say this all the time. Everybody's talking about, oh my God, look at how good he did in Super Tuesday and so on. I want to be very clear about this. Donald Trump only picked up approximately 70% of the GOP voting bloc that came out so far and have voted. So 30% of the GOP, of the Republican voters that voted, and clearly if they're going to vote in these primaries, they're going to vote in a general election. These people do not want him. They have been very clear about it. They have gone on television, and Stu Varney is 100% correct. Calling Gavin Newsom, right, new scum, is certainly not going to engender the 30% of just the Republican Party. Forget about the undecideds. Look, he's definitely not getting a single Democratic vote. What he's hoping for is a big block of the undecideds, of the independents. But this type of language and this ongoing continuous chaos, name-calling, childish shit is not going to engender any great feeling for him by the undeclared, by the independent side, which is why I continuously say that all of these bullshit polls that are being put out, they don't mean anything. They're not legitimate. They're not real. I do really believe that this community, this Midas Touch Network community, this Political Beatdown community, my Mea Culpa community, the Legal AF community, the Meiselas Brothers community, together, we will keep pushing the message of vote blue. That's right, Donna. Vote blue, or Omar. Vote blue, because the more that we get out there, the more we continue to grow this community, the more of an ass kicking that we're going to give the GOP, which is the only way to destroy Trumpism. Because, I said this in the last line of my book, Revenge. Trumpism is fascism. And we must eradicate it from our body politic. People like Lauren Hobart, right? Marjorie Toilet Green, Josh Hawley's, all of these folks, they have to go.
A brief programming note for everybody. I see it's a full house here on Political Beatdown. The Brother podcast today is going to be moved up to 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific, and that will be featuring guests Congressmember Eric Swalwell and Anthony Scaramucci. So that gets moved up, 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern time, and then we will begin pre-coverage for the State of the Union at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific on the separate feed. So basically, you're going to stay on this feed, then you're going to jump to the Brothers pod feed to watch the Congressmember Eric Swalwell and Anthony Scaramucci interview. Then you'll jump to the State of the Union pre-coverage. It's all here on the Midas Touch Network. Then, of course, we'll have the State of the Union live here on the Midas Touch Network, now the most trusted source in the news, independent media, done the right way, where we don't both sides the issue. A lot more on Political Beatdown. Let's take our first quick break of the day.
I'm married with children, and I know that finding the right life insurance to protect my family with Policy Genius has never been more important. So make life insurance part of your financial planning this year, and start shopping now with Policy Genius to find a policy to protect your family. Understand, getting life insurance today means that you'll have peace of mind, so that if something, God forbid, were to happen to you, your family can cover expenses while getting back on their feet. Luckily, Policy Genius helps you compare your options from top companies, and their team of licensed experts are on hand to help talk you through it. Having the right life insurance will give me peace of mind, knowing that my family will be taken care of in a worst-case scenario. Policy Genius has licensed, award-winning agents and technology that makes it easy to compare life insurance quotes from America's top insurers in just a few clicks to find your lowest price. It's what we're all looking for, right? Lowest price. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at, get a load of this, at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options offer same-day approval, and they also avoid unnecessary medical exams. Policy Genius works for you, not the insurance companies, so that means that they don't have an incentive to recommend one insurer over another, so you can trust their guidance. Save time and money and provide your family with a financial safety net using Policy Genius. So head right now to policygenius.com/beat or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you can save today. That's policygenius.com/beat. Go there now.
Lomi is the only appliance that prevents food waste from stinking up your kitchen and polluting the planet. Now that I've invested in a Lomi, it's changed the way I deal with my food waste. Lomi is the biggest innovation in the modern day kitchen since the dishwasher. Lomi has helped me turn my home into a climate solution. Now I can transform my organic waste into nutrient-rich loamy earth that I can feed to my plants, lawn, or garden instead of sending it to the landfill. I can help the environment and make my life easier. In just 4 hours, Lomi transforms almost anything you eat into nutrient-rich plant food at the push of a button. It's smart, simple food recycling that fits my space perfectly. Cut the chore of doing the trash in half and eliminate bugs and odors in your kitchen. And here's the bonus. You get to feed your lawn and garden with an all-natural fertilizer that you just created out of your food scraps. All my food scraps, plant clippings, and even those leftovers I forgot in the back of the fridge can go back into my garden, helping me grow more nutritious food at home. I learned that food waste makes up a huge portion of our personal carbon footprint also. By reducing the amount of food I send to landfill, I'm helping to do my part for the planet. Whether you want to start making a positive environmental impact or just grow a beautiful garden, Lomi is perfect for you. Head to lomi.com/beat and use the promo code BEAT to get $50 off your Lomi. That's $50 off when you head to lomi.com/beat, BEAT, and use promo code BEAT at checkout. Thank you, Lomi, for sponsoring this episode.
Welcome back to Political Beatdown. We've got a lot of coverage left on our show on Political Beatdown, and then coverage the rest of the day here on the Midas Touch Network. Great ad read, by the way, there, Michael Cohen. And it also is great to see I got to give credit where credit is due. It's also great to see Democrats going on the offense. As I mentioned, when the Brother Show launches in a little bit at 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific, we're going to have Congress member Eric Swalwell on there. And yesterday, he and many of the other Democrats going on the offense, not holding back at all. And this is what I always wanted to see in this Democratic Party. Fighters. Here, play this clip of Congress member Swalwell.
The reason you oppose the bill is not because you have any policy issues with it. It addresses everything that you've been talking about for the last couple of years. Because all I have heard from any of you is noun, verb, border. Noun, verb, border. That's all you know. And then you get a border bill from the second most conservative member of the Senate. And let me tell you why you oppose it. You oppose it because Donald Trump opposes it. That's it. That is the simplest explanation. Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is the correct one. Donald Trump opposes it because Donald Trump wants to be president, because Donald Trump has 91 felony counts that he's facing, and the only way that those go away and he is not held accountable is if he's president. And if the noun verb border plan is no longer working and he can't use that as an issue, then he may not be president. So he says, I don't support this. I want the issue, not the solution. And so you all, God, I don't know what it feels like to be so helpless to have to follow somebody like Donald Trump. Follow Donald Trump. And it's fine. I get it. You must see yourselves as so very tiny and so very small when you look at Donald Trump. And he's so big that he looms so large over you that you would do anything that he says to support him. But that is the reality. This is not a policy dispute. Donald Trump wants the border issue, and so you're going to go along with Donald Trump. That's it.
There you go.
He's going to literally have them follow him right off the cliff. And he doesn't give a flying shit whether they do or they don't. He only cares about himself. I have been saying the same thing now for over 6 years. I stood before the American people in 2018 before the House Oversight Committee, and I said it a little bit more articulate and with definitely a lot fewer, we'll call it colorful words. But Donald Trump doesn't give a shit about anyone or anything other than himself. And Eric, who I happen to know and I happen to like and I respect immensely, when he turns around and he says this, listen, yeah, preach, Eric, preach. The problem is he's only preaching to us. He's not getting through to a single maggot moron. And I refer to them as maggot morons because these fucking dummies with the 4 teeth and the 3 brain cells, some of them, though, are a little bit more advanced, 3 teeth and 4 brain cells, These folks don't care. They don't care. Donald Trump will walk them off the side of the planet, and they will all, as they're falling into the abyss, they will still say, we're going down, we're supporting Donald Trump. And the question that they have to ask themselves, at what cost? At the cost of America's democracy? Let me tell you something that we also have not spoken about. And stuff, this sort of shit always grates on my mind as I'm watching and so on. Donald Trump ultimately becomes the Republican nominee. Do you know what that means, Ben? Brigaders, you know what that means? It means that Donald Trump is entitled to briefings. He's entitled to participate in White House briefings. Top secret shit. You really think that Donald, with all of the financial problems and stuff that he's going, won't be selling those secrets? You don't think that he poses a great threat to America's national security when he is so financially strapped and he's holding a secret that could benefit Mohammed bin Salman or Iran or, North Korea? You think he's not going to do something to benefit himself? He will sell this country out, as I've said, if he was in prison, for a bag of tuna and for a book of stamps. That's just who he is.
Michael Cohen, cults have always existed since the dawn of time. That's not a new phenomenon. You go back and look up speeches by even Charles Lindbergh, America First, back, in the 1930s, promoting the Nazi movement. And they had things in Madison Square Garden with big audiences that looked absolutely packed. So the phenomenon to radicalize a portion of the population is not a new phenomenon, but it is hard to reach out to people who are so ingratiated in a cult. The MAGAs will be very hard, but there are, you look at some of these stats from Super Tuesday. It was about 81% of Nikki Haley voters in many states, 81%, like in North Carolina, for example, say that it's not a foregone conclusion that they would vote Republican or that they will vote for Donald Trump. And that pattern has repeated in many, many states. And so, for me, look, I think it's very important in doing this outreach to mainstream Republicans and conservatives that we don't forget about core important ideas and ideals that the Democratic Party has stand for, because I think that's important, focusing on workers and healthcare and focusing on veterans and focusing on our allies. So I think we need to make sure we continue to support these core values that make us part of the pro-democracy community. But I do think that Eric Swalwell there and what Democrats are doing are appealing to people who say, you know what, I may disagree with you on this policy and that policy and this policy, but wow, I've been a Republican my entire life. Donald Trump and MAGA, they're not Republican. It's just the party of Trump, and I can't support that. And here's an example of this, Michael Cohen. IVF. Here's a question from this morning that was asked to MAGA Mike Johnson. And the question was, do you see standard IVF practices as the same thing as murder? Because that's ultimately what the decision was in Alabama that led to basically all of these IVF clinics closing, that the Supreme Court looked at the decision in Dobbs and basically found a frozen embryo is a child. That's what MAGA Mike and the modern day MAGA Republicans believe. And finally, a reporter asked that question. That's the question I was looking for. Not generally, do you support IVF? The question of, do you see standard IVF practices as murder? Play the clip, then I want to get your reaction.
But there's this question of embryos. In the process, they are destroyed, disposed of. If you believe life begins at conception, fertilization, and I know you do you see that as murder? It's something that we've got to grapple with. It's a brave new world. IVF's only been invented, I think, in the early 70s.
Cohen.
Nonsense. First of all, IVF has been around for a while, including different forms. I remember when I was a kid, there was a test tube baby that was created in a laboratory. you know, I've always wondered what happened to that child and so on, but the child was born, the child lived, the child has grown up. So MAGA Mike is full of shit. All right. I'll also tell you that he has been very crystal clear in saying that he wants to ensure that America returns, listen to the word, returns to a white Christian nationalist country. We've talked about it on this program, Ben. All right. We've informed our brigaders. Return to a white Christian nationalist country. So what happens then to our black community? What happens to our Muslim community? What happens to our Jewish community? What happens to, to our Hindu and everything else? Under MAGA Mike, either, this is like, there'll be like another Inquisition. Either you convert to Christianity or leave. Let me be clear about something also. America was never, ever in its entire history a white Christian nationalist country. It never was. And so he's taking his theocracy, his ideology, and he's trying to impose it upon you and I. Look, I respect the fact that he has these strong Christian evangelical beliefs. I'm all for it. Knock yourself out. I don't give a fuck. Knock yourself out. Just don't impede on the next guy's right, on the next woman's rights. You're going to tell me that you think your ideology should stop a woman's right to decide? You think that your ideology should turn around and say that the day after pill, condoms should all be outlawed? IVF should you end up deciding for whatever the reason that these embryos are to be destroyed, maybe because you were successful in the earliest rounds of your IVF and you don't need them anymore because that's the child and that's it, right? Maybe it's not your second child, maybe it's your third or your fourth, whatever it might be. The woman's decision should be sacrosanct, but not for him. His ideology is that we know better than you. You know what? It's a good time for it. MAGA Mike Johnson, fuck you, all right? Fuck you for impeding on a woman's right to decide, on turning around and making this Handmaid's Tale nightmare into a fucking reality that a woman cannot get an abortion despite the fact that the fetus is not even living in utero, causing her all sorts of potential problems, including death, has to give birth to a child that she knows is deceased. Fuck you, idiot.
And to that point, Kate Cox, who was forced to flee Texas to get vital health care, I believe is going to be a guest at the State of the Union. This is how Kate Cox explains what took place to her in the state of Texas. She said that she and her husband were so excited when they learned about her third pregnancy, ready to expand their growing young family. As soon as I got a positive pregnancy test, I ran into the playroom where my husband was wrestling with the other kids and showed him the test. And we were both just so excited and celebrated. She said it was a really joyful time. But then she said she found out something was terribly wrong. Her fetus was diagnosed with a fatal genetic condition and had little chance to survive. Her uterus was at risk of rupturing, jeopardizing her health and the possibility of future pregnancies. Her doctor told her, quote, the risks increased by the day, the risks of hemorrhage, the risk of uterine rupture, and potentially even worse. This, unfortunately, was a pregnancy plagued with pain and suffering, and it was never going to result in a baby that we could take home. And Texas prevented her from getting the reproductive care that she needed. We're going to hear about stories like that in the State of the Union. But you compare stories like that, and here's what MAGA Mike had to say about Donald Trump and his coattails being humongous coattails. And that's what these idiots are. What are they even talking about? Play the clip.
How do you bring that split together, and how big are Trump's coattails this year? Well, his coattails are humongous. I mean, we've already been working with the president. He knows how important it will be when he wins re-election to have a large House majority for the Republican Party, and I believe we can deliver on that. Look, we're
this picture, Salty and Jeremy, of the dog. This is who they worship right here. This is what Donald Trump's doing at Mar-a-Lago. He's having parties where people show up and do crap like this. And take a look at the next picture, and the next picture, and the next picture. Cohen, I want to talk about all of this and more, but I want to take our last quick break of the show.
And now let's take a quick break to talk about our next partner, Rhone. If you're like me, you understand the pains of finding out what to wear. Let's face it, most clothes are uncomfortable or too tight or never actually the size that you really are, and not to mention the annoyance of trying to put together a good outfit. And when you finally do have a good fit, you can only wear it for a few hours before you have an important meeting or dinner, and then you have to change. Everyone wants to dress their best and look good at all times because, frankly, it's a confidence booster. So here's the deal. Men's closets were due for a radical reinvention, and Rhone stepped up to the challenge. Rhone's commuter collection is the most comfortable, breathable, and flexible set of products known to man. And here's why. Rhone helps you get ready for any occasion with the commuter collection, which offers the world's most comfortable pants, dress shirts, quarter zips, and polos. You never have to worry about what to wear when you have the Rhone commuter collection. Rhone's comfortable four-way stretch fabric provides breathability and flexibility that leaves you free to enjoy what life throws your way, from your commute to work to your 18 holes of golf. It's time to feel confident without the hassle. With Rhone's wrinkle release technology, wrinkles disappear as you stretch and wear the products. It's that easy. With the Gold Fusion anti-odor technology, you'll be smelling fresh and clean all day long. And on top of that, Rhone is 100% machine washable, so you can ditch the dry cleaner altogether. I absolutely love Rhone. This has truly become my go-to commuter fit. We're on the move a lot, whether it's jumping from meeting to meeting or catching a flight or an important dinner. The Rhone commuter collection has never let me down. The versatility and overall comfort of the collection is undefeated. And even after I wear it all day, I still feel super fresh because of that Gold Fusion anti-odor technology. The commuter collection can get you through any workday and straight into whatever comes next. So right now, head to Rhone.com/Cohen, that's Cohen, and use promo code Cohen to save 20% off your entire order. That's 20% off your entire order when you head to RHONE.com/Cohen, Cohen, and use code Cohen. It's time to find your corner office. And now, back to the video.
Welcome back. We're live on Political Beatdown. I should have gave a trigger warning before showing those photos to everybody.
You know what's really the most disappointing thing here is that Republicans feel that they have a right to impose their beliefs on a woman's choice, that they can create law that impose upon a woman's decision, but they refuse to pass a law where you can't buy an AR-15 at the age of 18. I mean, it's really, to me, it's just so, it's so oxymoronic. It's moronic is really what it is. I don't understand their ideology. I really don't. Knock yourself out. If that's what you believe, keep it in your own bedroom. Worry about yourself. And I'm all good with that. You wanna go through it this way? No problem. But don't impose your ideology on me or anyone. And then in those pictures, I mean, those are the people that are supporting Trump. I mean, nightmares, right? I mean, as stupid as they come, and for whatever the reason might be, Donald said it himself. I like the poorly educated. I like the stupid people. Some of these people aren't so stupid, but they do look, unfortunately, awfully beaten up by the old plastic surgeon. I'll tell you that.
Let's take a look at that, and we'll take a look at what happened. I can take a look at that. We'll take a look at what happened in Mar-a-Lago over this past weekend. So Lara Trump, who's already basically been caught diverting millions of dollars back to Trump properties for this purported dog charity, did another dog charity where she claimed to be selling these dogs and auctioning dogs off. And, like the whole story is like made up. Like they can't do anything right too. So pull up the photo one more time, because they claim to be auctioning this dog, not that dog. That's another dog that was there. This dog.
Wait, which one?
This one right here that she's
the one
holding.
in
It's
the
a
dress?
Chihuahua. And they
Oh.
said that this Chihuahua was found, and I'm not making this up, in a dirty bathtub, in a filthy bathtub in Puerto Rico. And that they took the dog that they found, because nothing that they say is the truth. They found a dog in a filthy bathtub in Puerto Rico, and they brought it to Mar-a-Lago, and they're selling it for $10,000. And they claim the dog's name is Truffles. Okay, but like everything they do, it's all a fraud, and they make up everything. So it says Truffles, but then you look at it, and the dog's name is either Truffles or the dog's name is Churro, because they say then Churro, not Truffles. Churro is a 3-month-old Chihuahua mix, expected to max out at 9 pounds, was recently rescued from a hoarding home's filthy bathtub. I mean, this is the most ridiculous description. Filthy bathtub in Puerto Rico, where the dog was struggling to live, and they get the dog's name wrong on the PowerPoint. Then they're selling these fake designer bags that are shaped in the form of a handgun, clutches being sold at Trump's Mar-a-Lago, and these are fake. Some are shaped like handguns, and then they have people showing up like this, and they dress their dog as Donald Trump, and and these are the events that are taking place in Mar-a-Lago, where classified records, top secret records, and as you described before, security briefings. And look, there's part of it that's like holy crap, and like what the hell are you showing me? But then you go into it and go, actually, that's where they had our nuclear secrets, just kind of laid out in bathrooms and in random rooms, like what you just saw right there.
What's there to possibly say? I mean,
that's why you're my co-host. Say something.
My brother, it's just another grift, right? I mean, they have really figured out how to maximize the grift every single day. There's more and more text messages going out, Patriot, they're coming for your favorite president again. I'm the only thing that's standing between you and Joe Biden, who wants to destroy democracy and to destroy the Constitution. That this demented, guy. And it's funny, the projection, because every single thing that he's saying, everything is a projection off himself. I wish that somebody would just come right out and say, just compare the two together against one another, Biden versus Trump. Jobs created in the 3 years by Biden, 13,905,000. During the 4 years of Trump, minus 2,876,000. Manufacturing jobs, plus 815,000 for Biden. Minus 154,000 for Trump. Unemployment, 3.8 under Biden, 6.3% under Trump. Economic growth, 2.1%, right? Plus economic growth under Biden, minus 3.4% under Trump. These are the things that you're going to hear tonight in the State of the Union. So they could all keep saying, oh, but Joe Biden is old. He's old. Fucking Trump is old too. And I'll tell you something, cognitively, he ain't there anymore. This is not the Donald Trump, I can assure you, that I remember sitting and talking to across the desk. I mean, this rambling fool is just a rambling fool.
Donald Trump was also hit with another judgment today as the plaintiff, as the person bringing the lawsuit. Donald Trump has a magnificent way of not just losing when he's the defendant, but not only losing when he's the plaintiff, but the defendants who he sues end up getting judgments taken out against him. Now, this one I'm referring to is international. This is in the UK, and we're getting breaking news right now. Let me just finish that quick thought, though, that Donald Trump hit with a $385,000 judgment, about 300,000 pounds, for losing the lawsuit that he had filed against Christopher Steele and Orbis by a UK high court. This just in, folks. This is breaking news, hot off the wire right now. Judge Lewis Kaplan has denied Donald Trump's motion for a stay of the civil verdict against him in the E. Jean Carroll case. Quote, Mr. Trump's current situation is a result of his own dilatory actions, he writes. Let me repeat that, because we talked about at the top of the show, Donald Trump trying to request a stay in the E. Jean Carroll case of federal judge Lewis Kaplan. This just in, breaking news, Judge Kaplan has denied Donald Trump's motion for a stay of the civil verdict against him in the Carroll case. Quote, Mr. Trump's current situation is a result of his own dilatory actions, he writes. And you can see the order right there. He has had since January 26 to organize his finances with the knowledge that he might need to bond this judgment. Yet he waited until 25 days after the jury verdict and only shortly before the expiration of Rule 62's automatic 30-day stay of the judgment to file his prior motion for an unsecured or partially secured stay pending resolution of the post-trial motions. The court ordered expedited briefing and assured the parties that the motion would be decided as promptly as was reasonably appropriate. But due to the delay in its filing, the court notified that it could not render any decision as quickly as Mr. Trump requested. That remains true today. Moreover, the expensive ongoing litigation in the absence of a stay does not constitute, quote, irreparable injury in the relevant sense of that term. And it cites a bunch of cases that also state for that proposition, nor has Mr. Trump made any showing of what expenses he might incur if required to post a bond or other security, or on what terms, if any, he could obtain conventional bonds or post cash or other assets to secure payment of the judgment, or any other circumstances relevant to the situation. Accordingly, his present application for a temporary administrative stay is denied. So ordered, March 7, 2024, Judge Lewis Kaplan. Michael Cohen, your response to this breaking news.
So my response is hard to imagine the guy who told America, the guy who is preaching to his MAGA supporters, there's going to be so much winning. You're going to get tired of winning. So far, doesn't seem like the guy's winning at all. It doesn't seem like he's winning at all. And the decision by Judge Kaplan, the correct decision by Judge Kaplan is sort of the proof positive of when I said, when von Schützenpants becomes the GOP nominee and he is then entitled to be briefed. Now, Biden could put a stop to the extent of it and so on. But we have to be really careful because financially he is compromised and he can easily be more compromised by discussing national security issues with foreign entities or foreigners or Americans that, like Jared, that will turn around and pass the message along to his dear friend, for example, Mohammed bin Salman. This is not a joke. This is our national security that we're fucking with. And the fact that these 70 million or whatever, the number of MAGAs that there are out there, wake up, because it's your life too. It's America. It's the freedom of America that is being stripped away day in and day out because he can't pay up his own bills.
A devastating order that Donald Trump was just hit with. And federal judge Lewis Kaplan just said, look, you didn't even put forward a scintilla of evidence or data, like show me the bond. Why don't we start with that? If you say you're going to be harmed, show me that you've made efforts to try to secure a bond and that you didn't wait 25 days before even starting. Like any other litigant in the system, show me, attach an affidavit that shows the amount, what the penalty you claim it's going to take, how long it's going to take for you to get this. Show me the actual documents so I can consider it. Show me also, for example, that you don't have the money or that you do have the money, but provide me, Michael Cohen, with evidence, with data. And that's what Donald Trump.
But that's not what they're about. They're not about, showing you the evidence. It's all about delay, delay, delay. It's all about bullshitting the American people, whether it's Donald doing it, whether it's Alina Habba doing it, or this new spokesperson doing it. It doesn't matter. They're stroking his ego, which does absolutely nothing for anybody else other than stroking his ego. It just doesn't make any sense. Listen, Habba Dabba Baba Baba turned around and said, we all know he's a billionaire and he has the money. Great. Show me the money. Oh, Salty, if you have that clip, show me the money.
As much as I want to play the Jerry Maguire, I'll just reenact it for potential copyright purposes. Show me the money. Show me the money.
Come on, Jerry. Say it louder, Jerry. Show me the money.
That's how we avoid it. Michael Cohen, I've had a great time on this episode. I want to remind everybody this very important programming note as well. The Brother Podcast. Well, there it is right there. There's the photo so we don't get a copyright. We always got to be very, very careful here on the Midas Touch Network. That's part of my job in business affairs as well.
Before you jump into your closing, can I say something really, really quick?
Of course.
What Judge Kaplan just did in not allowing Donald to get away with that request, that motion, however they filed it, they're doing this to me, and I say I'm talking about Trump's attorneys, continue to do this to me every single day, including today. It is an every single day event that I find out from counsel that Todd Blanche, Susan Necklace, that they are doing things in order to frustrate my appearance before this upcoming Manhattan DA case. And I always preface this by saying, if the Manhattan DA would turn around and say to me, we don't need you, I would turn around and I would say, thank you very much. I truly appreciate it. I am under subpoena within which to come in and to testify. And I will continue to testify and continue as acknowledged by virtually everyone, right? Specifically, Judge Engoron, that I told the truth. It is the same story that I've been telling again and again and again, with some new twists, because it's each and every one of them are different cases. They continue to bring up more and more things in order to try to frustrate my appearance. You may have seen the motion in limine. Then there was an opposition by the people, by the district attorney prosecutors. And then after that, and you can look online for this. This isn't top secret information. Then we put in a reply. They put in a SIR reply, all of which attacks me and my character, my veracity, and so on. When Donald and Weisselberg and Don Jr. and Ivanka and Eric and their whole group, they all lied under oath. I'd like to see each and every one of them, like with Allen. They should give him a whole cadre over there somewhere in Rikers Island for the whole fucking lying bunch of them. But they keep coming at me every single day. Thank goodness for Judge Kaplan. Thank goodness that he's not concerned about, anybody saying, oh, you're being hard on Donald, or this is political, and so on. And that's why I keep saying to you, if you can, please, because these legal fees are, again, they just rack up. I mean, if I tell you numbers, you wouldn't even believe it. Every single dollar of that GoFundMe, unlike the Lara Trump and the Eric Trump, for the dogs, every single dollar goes right into the lawyer's IOLA account. And I don't see the money. I don't touch the money. I don't take any of the money. It 100% goes to the lawyers. And it's the same lawyer that helped me to beat the $500 million lawsuit that Trump filed. Danya Perry is working on this, and her whole office. I was just there going over some documents because it's going to be, obviously brought up on cross-exam. So anybody, the GoFundMe, I truly appreciate it. There you go, support it's out of control at this point in time. So I thank everybody. Lastly, like I said before, Norm Eisen's going to be on the blue background icon, Mea Culpa podcast. It is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Raw, unfiltered. You may even want to listen to the one that's current right now. They are raw, unfiltered, and important. That's the thing. They provide a lot of information, to you, the listener. If you can, subscribe, listen, rate, share. Now with the Midas Touch Network on their RSS feed. So I thank everybody from the bottom of my heart for everything that you do, for being a part of this community, for, if you can, whack up those blue hearts so that we can show, in case there's some MAGA trolls, that we will take this election, that we will ultimately take the House. We will still have control over the Senate, and we're going to keep the White House too. Period. End of story. As a community, this is our goal, and this is what we need to accomplish.
All right, everybody, get ready. It will be a night of a lot of things going on here at the Midas Touch Network. So we take a brief break in our programming while Michael Cohen and I prepare the after show. Then at 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern Time, the Brother Show then goes live. We have Congressmember Eric Swalwell, and we've got Scaramucci, Anthony Scaramucci, as guests there. That's going to be a pretty great show. Then we have our pre-coverage and then coverage of the State of the Union. We'll have DNC Chair Jamie Harrison as a guest, and we'll also have a guest, I'm being told, the second gentleman of the United States will be joining us as well for our pre-coverage of the State of the Union. Douglas Emhoff will be joining us here on the Midas Touch Network. So all you got to do if you're watching this is just stay in it, because when this ends, you will get funneled to the next show. When that show ends, you will get funneled to the next show. We'll be on this journey together. Cohen, what a great show. Let's keep fighting for our democracy. Thank you for everybody watching. Subscribe to our after show here, patreon.com/political beatdown. One more time, patreon.com/political beatdown. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and shout out to the Brigaders and shout out to the Midas Mighty.